Hello po guys and gals, it's me ALQ, your astrologer's favorite astrologer. Yes, ako lang ang nag-decide na favorite ako. Anyway, let's talk about the zodiac signs that will ghost you. Girl, if somebody has ever disappeared on you with zero explanation, no goodbye, no I'm busy, nothing. One day you're talking, next day, ghosted. Okay, let's talk about who does this and why. But before everybody starts attacking their ex's sun sign, wait. Because ghosting isn't always about your sun sign. Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, rising, even the aspects in your chart can tell us way more about how you handle discomfort. Ayan, mas interesting. Number 5, Libra. And you're probably like, Libra, they're so nice. Exactly, sometimes too nice. Because Libra energy can really dislike confrontation. So instead of saying, I'm not interested anymore, they might slowly disappear. You send a message, they reply 3 hours later, then 8 hours, then tomorrow. And suddenly you're like, wait, are we still talking? Girl, they don't want the confrontation. That's the problem. And if we're talking Libra Moon or Libra Venus, relationships and harmony can be really important themes. So when things get messy, instead of fighting, they might choose peace. Pero ikaw, you're sitting there with 17 unanswered questions. Number 4, Gemini. Okay, Gemini, don't start typing. Because here's the thing. Gemini is heavily associated with communication and mental stimulation. So when they're interested, you cannot shut them up. Messages, memes, random thoughts. OMG, did you see this? Then, silence. And you're refreshing the chat like, hello, you alive? But here's the deeper part. For some Gemini-heavy charts, once the mental stimulation disappears, their attention can shift. Hindi necessarily because they hate you. They may simply be mentally elsewhere. And I'd especially look at Mercury and Moon. Mercury tells us a lot about communication style. Moon can show how someone emotionally processes things. So if someone has a strong Gemini signature, but their Moon is also very avoidant or restless, girl, that combination can be very hard to read. Number 3, Aquarius. Aquarius ghosting is different because sometimes they don't even think they're ghosting you.
Huh?
They're just doing their own thing. Living life, working, gaming, going out, existing. Meanwhile, you're like, so are we broken up? Aquarius energy can really value independence. And with Aquarius Moon or Venus, emotional space can be very important. Pero here's where things get messy. If they feel pressured to explain every emotion, they may pull back even more. Poof! Number 2, Sagittarius. Oh, Sagittarius. This is the sign where people immediately say, they just hate commitment.
Huh?
Again, too basic. Sagittarius energy is strongly associated with freedom, exploration, honesty, and movement. So if they feel trapped, they might suddenly need space, then a trip, then a new hobby. Then somehow, you haven't heard from them in 5 days. And you're like, so that's your communication strategy? Not ideal, babe. But here's where Venus and Mars matter. Sagittarius Venus can value freedom and adventure in relationships. Sagittarius Mars can be very action-oriented, so when they're excited about something, they go. But if they're no longer feeling it, their energy can disappear fast. But number 1, Pisces. And this one is interesting because Pisces isn't necessarily ghosting because they don't care. Sometimes, they ghost because they care too much. They don't know what to say. They don't want to hurt you. So instead of having the uncomfortable conversation, they disappear. Which honestly, still hurts. Pero now we understand the why. And Pisces Moon or Venus can make someone incredibly sensitive to emotional energy. So if the relationship becomes emotionally overwhelming, they may need to escape the situation just to regulate themselves. Unfortunately, their coping mechanism can become, let me just disappear and deal with this later. Later never comes. But wait, the most important ghosting clue isn't even the zodiac sign. It's the person's entire chart. Mercury shows communication, Moon shows emotional processing, Venus shows relationship style, Mars shows how they act and pursue. And then we have Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. These can add very different flavors to the story. Strong Uranus themes, sudden changes. Neptune, confusion, idealization, unclear boundaries. Fear, caution, holding back. So if somebody ghosted you, don't immediately say, oh, they're a Gemini. Ask yourself, what were they actually avoiding? Conflict, emotional intimacy, commitment, a difficult conversation? Ayan, that's the real tea. Here's my little ghosting test. Did they disappear suddenly? Did they come back like nothing happened? Did they avoid explaining? And do they repeat the same pattern with other people? If yes, girl, that's not astrology anymore. That's a pattern. Okay, now I need to know. What's your sun, moon, rising, Venus, and Mercury? And tell me, have you ever ghosted somebody? Or have you been ghosted? Don't lie. Because honestly, sometimes the person who ghosts you isn't trying to hurt you. Sometimes they're running from the conversation they know they need to have. Pero that's still not an excuse. Communication is communication. Okay, enough tea muna. Kung may nag-ghost sa'yo recently, but please don't chase. Let them explain themselves. Stay curious, stay delulu. Pero wag tayo maghabol sa tao nag-disappear. See you sa next one.